Hi YouTube. I'm Angela. I am a trauma-informed care, sociology, victimology, psychology, social science student with Penn State. I am a lifetime DV survivor, including SA, since I was very young. I'm using these words because I don't want to, end up getting in trouble. I've been told that if we use certain words, we can get in certain trouble. So I try to avoid them. Also, as a fair trigger warning, I am currently going through a pretty serious separation/divorce of the father of 2 of my 3 children, who I thought I'd be with together forever, due to his abuse issues and mental health issues. His choice not to treat his mental health and addiction issues. I am also a recovering addict. I don't want to say I'm a member of any recovering addict program, because while I don't drink or indulge in any chemical vices, I do not live a totally abstinent life, in that I am ambivalent. If my doctor gives me medication, I'm going to take it. If New Year's Eve comes around and I want a sip of champagne, I might have it. I got clean almost 19 years ago. It'll be 19 years in March that I left home and did get clean, and I did it through a program for almost a decade. I went to meetings twice a day for the first 4 or 5 years. And then in order to qualify myself, right? I've never done this qualification with you guys, but I'm going to talk about something, and I want to clarify that while I have no skin in the game, so to speak, I'm qualified to speak. I was assaulted from a very young age. I was physically assaulted by my older brother. I was physically and sexually assaulted by my older brother. I was mentally tortured. Some of his favorite things to do were to lock me in this little closet under our attic stairs, so it was short and slanted, and sit outside and make these scritching noises because he knew I was terrified of spiders. Or he would do things because we saw blizzards back there, kind of akin to what's going on now. There was this little house, because we lived on a farm, so there were a bunch of outbuildings. We called it the little house because it really was like a house. There was no plumbing or anything. There was no heating at the time even. But he would lock me in there in winter, and then tell my family that I had gone to my grandmother's and just leave me in there for days. My mom told me that when I was very, very young, he tried to smother me with a pillow. Obviously, I don't remember that. I do remember an incident where we were at a quarry at the end of winter, so the water was still pretty much frozen, and my mom and her I don't need to answer that. Her husband were on the other side of the. I don't know if they were married. No, they weren't married. They were dating. They were on the other side of the quarry, and my brother and my sister and I were on the side that we were on. We had 4-wheeled out there because that's the life we had. Not our life, but the life my mom's boyfriend had. He, had 4-wheelers. And we were ice skating, but we knew that one part was broken because it was, starting to be the end of winter. You couldn't go to the center. So my brother actively pushed me into the water where it was broken. And it was still extremely cold. I mean, keep in mind, we were ice skating. It was that cold. And then he stood there breaking the ice with the heel of his shoe. My mom must have heard something or saw me flailing. While he was in there laughing, breaking the ice with the heel of his shoe, she ran all the way around that quarry faster than I've ever seen a human being move in my life. Pulled me out. Somehow kept me warm, and she was small at the time. My mom has gone up and down with her weight her whole life, but she was small. She somehow managed to keep my entire body warm on the back of a 4-wheeler. I don't know if she wrapped herself around me, drove me back to the house. I guarantee I had hypothermia. I'm pretty sure she did too. I gave my mom a lot of grief because for a lot of my life she wasn't there. And until I became a mom, I didn't understand a lot. I mean, as a kid, I just wanted my parents. chance, right? But I wouldn't have survived that day. I would be dead, and I was young. It was before my brother, who was 7 years younger than me, was even conceived. So at most, I was 5 or 6. Those are the few scant memories I have of our childhood. There's a couple that are... I do remember the last time that he tried to hurt me in a way that was not acceptable. He chased me with his member out through the second floor of our farmhouse, up through the curved stair of the third floor. And I had been living in the third floor for a while. I was my grandmother and step-grandfather's farmhouse. My parents didn't raise us for a lot of that time period, but so it must have been again while I was under 7, because we moved out. I don't know when I was 7 or when I was 9. I think we might have moved out there when I was 9. But anyway, I was young. And sorry, there's a truck behind me with lights, so I'm trying to make sure I'm driving, properly. Anyway, he chased me up the stairs, and I had been cleaning out the second half of the attic. Was like storage, and had all this fun stuff, like old jewelry boxes and pictures, and I don't know, all this stuff. And I had found a knife, and when he got to the top of the stairs, I was standing there holding the pocket knife at all, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I told him I was going to cut it off. And for a while, the torture stopped. I found out years later he moved on to my younger sister. So I probably shouldn't have said that. Shit. I wonder if I can delete. Well, she's not hiding it, and I don't believe I'm ever going to become famous. If I do, I will apologize. My belief is that he moved on to her, and I'm pretty sure that she's been open about it. I guess I could be mistaken on all of this, too. Sometimes I wonder, because my family in general, we don't talk to him. We haven't for years. My mom's acknowledged a bunch of it, but I don't know. Sometimes history is rewritten, I guess. So anyway, that was the beginning of my life, right? My grandmother, who was raising us quotation marks, she took us from my mom a couple times. She didn't raise us. I raised us. I raised all of us. But she would punish me, for antagonizing him. I remember one time he broke my arm, and I had to sit on the stairs for antagonizing him until she got ready to take me to the doctor. And then when I got home, I had to sit there, and then I had to do both of ours homework because he was behind schedule, because he'd been, not had her there to do it for him. I don't know. I don't think of these things, as my tragedy. It's just my life. But I want to qualify, right? I want to qualify myself. Not I want to qualify. I do qualify. I'd love to not qualify, but I want to qualify myself is what we call it when we give our reason that you could trust us. Anyway, not much later or at the same time, my dad had a friend who liked to take pictures of little girls' underwear, Polaroids. I don't actively remember him ever touching me. He just asked to take a picture. I was wearing a skirt. I had probably some kind of crappy little polyester little kid undies on, probably with rainbows or something. It happened more than once. And I'm not the only girl. When he was caught, he was having a bunch of them. And I remember my dad asking me and me telling him no. Because he didn't directly ask. He didn't come out and say, we know this happened. I think he asked a question has Uncle so-and-so, I don't remember the guy's name now, which is good, but has he ever done anything weird, or does he, I don't know, something, does he ever touch you? And I probably just said no. You gotta understand that there was so much. One of the things I remember from being a kid, and God, this is one of my worst memories, I don't know, everything is so blurry, right? But my brother told me that he was going to kill me if I didn't go sit on my dad's lap and try to put on his zipper, just to see, I guess, because that would be funny. And I was terrified, but I was more terrified of my brother. And I guess I thought somewhere deep inside that it would be, if I tried to do this thing, that then my dad would go, why did you do that? I don't know if I even thought that, or if I just did what I was told. But I tried to do it, and my dad hit me hard in the ear the second I reached. And I mean, it was a reflex. I don't think he hit me to be mean, but here was his chance, right, to go, what, why? I found out recently that my mom knew at least some of what was going on. So my aunt, her stepdad's youngest child, who lived in the barn, there was an apartment in our barn. They actually made it for my mom, and then my aunt moved in there. Had lived in the house prior to that. Her and her male friend they abused my older brother, and they abused me, and they abused, I believe, my younger sister. Neither of my younger brothers ever lived there. Well, not for long. My youngest brother did for a while, because I took care of him a lot. And I remember at my grandfather's 50th birthday party, I had to carry him around because he would cling to me when he was a baby. He does not like me now. He actively dislikes me, and I don't know, because we're very similar. We both believe in social justice and all this stuff, but when he found out that I was dealing with the abuse I've been dealing with for the last few years, he didn't text me and be like, oh, sister, I'm sorry, is there anything I can do? Nothing like that. He texted me and said, my phone line is in your name, so you're going to have to stop sharing the text messages that you're receiving from your ex, because Pennsylvania is a two-way consent state, and I don't want to get in trouble. And I found out from my mom later that he had intended to be even worse, but she told him not to. I don't understand, because I did raise him for the first couple of years. And then my mom came, and my mom got married and had another baby and was doing better and raised him, and they are very close. They live together. My mom, my older of my two younger brothers, and my mom. My youngest little brother lives in my basement. I don't know if it's because he's still basing me off the couple years that I did do drugs, because I did from 20 until 22, and by the time I was 21 and a half, I started going to rehabs. I stayed clean from the time I was 22 until I was about 24, relapsed for about a year, and then got clean for good. He said I'm 44 and I've been clean for 19 years. He drinks excessively, so I don't assume it was that, but I don't know. He was pissed that I was sharing the abusive stuff that my ex was saying to me. And I checked the law, and it's not allowed. That reporter who was allowed to share all the text and stuff, if you put it in writing, you've given it to the world. You just have to tell somebody if you're recording them, because obviously if you're saying it out loud, there's an understanding that it's limited. When the text messages were taken, he was given a notification that the screenshots were taken. He actually told me, go ahead and put these on Facebook more than once. So, I also think that my brother just was in a bad mood and wanted to lash out at somebody, and for some reason I'm the target. Maybe because I raised him. Maybe part of him still thinks of me as a parent figure. I don't know. I don't have time to psychoanalyze him too. But anyway, my point was that there was a lot of abuse in my history. And then for a while I kind of toned down as far as all that. My mom married a guy who was not nice. He was very verbally abusive, primarily to my mom. He was very controlling of us children. He was awful in a lot of ways, but he also didn't care about us that much. He was primarily awful to my mom. And my mom did take a lot of things out on me, especially during the teenage years. For a long time, I would have told you that my mom was at least mentally, if not mentally and emotionally abusive. I don't know that I see it that way now. The problem is that I was her kid, and when she should have been loving and caring and protecting, she was attacking and assaulting. So while I think that a lot of it was not something that I would call abuse if it happened between two equals in a relationship today. For example, one time my brother asked me for chicken nuggets, and I just asked him on the regular ones with the cheese. And my mom flipped out because she didn't hear what was said, and for months she didn't talk to me. But then it was my daughter's first Mother's Day, and my daughter was with me. And I was not allowed to go to my mom's apartment, but she sent her roommate over to pick up my less than a year-old child, which obviously not happening. She didn't even ask me. She just wanted me to give my less than a year-old child to her roommate to bring back to see her, with an implied message, not even implied, a straight up message relayed to me of, how dare you keep your child away from me on its first Mother's Day. I'm his grandma. I love my mom, but these things that she did out of her own issues probably were abusive behaviors. When I brought her to my house one time, she's very much like, I don't know if it was the medication she was taking or her diabetes or exhaustion or stress, had gotten kind of goofy, and then she went and took a nap. And then I had to take my child back to their home. My middle child at the time didn't live with me, and I had to leave. And I knocked on my mom's door, and I'm like, hey, time to go. And she woke up flipping out and going off on me and standing in the middle of my kitchen screaming about how I was a bitch and all this other stuff. So my kid and me left. I gave her the money. She was looking at, you only wanted me here for money, because she'd give me money to buy my kids' birthday and Christmas presents. I gave it back to her and I left. For a couple years, my brother, maybe that's why he doesn't like me, because my brother was with her. He went on and on and on about how I owed him for the Uber ride back to Philadelphia, which is not true. She could have waited for me to get back, and I would have still driven them back. She could have stopped screaming that I was a bitch in the middle of my kitchen, too. We never talked about it. She got sick. I went to the hospital to take care of her because I am her medical proxy. And that's how we deal with things in our family, and that's okay. I don't need closure on these things, but I do need to make clear that there's been a lot in my life that is, if not abuse, at least not normal, okay? My stepfather was abusive. He only hit my mom once, and she put him in jail for a night, but he was abusive. I left to go live with my dad, who was not abusive, and I really would not call my dad abusive, but I would call my dad a drunk, a very unhappy drunk. So he was not affectionate, he was not loving, he didn't know how to be. I was never good enough. I was always a disappointment. I cleaned the whole apartment when I moved in, but he'd bitch about how I didn't do the dishes. I had to do my own grocery shopping at 12 and 13 because he was working second shift. I always did it wrong. God forbid, I got the boneless pork chops because I didn't like, even then I had tooth problems, and it was a waste of money. And, but I thought they were cheaper because the package seemed like they were cheaper. I don't know. I got straight A's, and it was, why aren't they A pluses? While my failing brother, would get a D, and it would be a celebration. And then I never heard my dad say, I love you, sober until I was an adult. What I did hear my dad say a lot was things like, after I got clean, him going, so what? You want an award for what you should be doing anyway? And yet when he went to detox, he left the second day. Or, well, I may not have always made it to your house, but I always paid my child support. Which, I don't know if it's true or not. I guess it might be. It means a lot as a single mom now. It didn't mean shit as a kid. He would leave on Friday night and tell us he was on his way to come get whichever one of us whose Friday it was. But inevitably on my Friday, the bar would be on the path to my house. And he'd show up on Sunday. Or occasionally he'd actually pick us up, and then he'd take me to these parties with all his friends where I would get into a bedroom to sit with the other kids while he got drunk, and I didn't see him until Sunday anyway. So, at least I got to hang out with other kids. We weren't always, super close or anything, but whatever. I miss my dad. I wanted a dad. I wanted to be daddy's girl. We're a lot alike, I guess. I still miss my dad. We're not a lot alike now. Last time that my ex was brought up around him, he was going on about beating up my sister's ex-husband, which she's been divorced for years. The problem with her ex was that he didn't grow up, and they had kids, and they had bills, and they had, and he was spending all the money, but he wasn't abusive. My ex actively abusive. He wasn't a great guy. I'm not trying to disqualify my sister's reasons for divorce, but as far as I know, she has had more babies. She's getting married soon. She's happy. I'm not sure why my dad was going on a rant about killing her ex-husband, but my child said then, wow, you must really hate my dad then. And I'm not choosing sides in that. And my kid's face just fell. And I was like, well, you probably should, since he was abusive to not only me, but also your grandchildren. And physically, well, yes, if you need to know, but does it matter? Does it matter? Here's your qualification for good dad. Always pay my child support. Well, he hasn't paid us a cent in months. He bankrupted me. Literally. I need to find a lawyer and file bankruptcy probably, but I haven't. I did a consolidation, and I'm holding on by this, skin of my fingers. I got a job. So, okay, back to, my dad wasn't super abusive, but he was not a great parent. hi Gary, bye Gary. Got a bunch of executive function, PTSD, and anxiety disorder issues. Started cutting myself, got into a psych ward. Came home, we moved to a different town, different school, never saw my friends again. Was now in a lower education bracket, and the one thing I did have going for me was my brains, so that kind of sucked. Anyway, fast forward to the last year of school, Columbine happened. And all of my anxiety and all of my PTSD and all of my executive function issues combined, and I just couldn't, I could not go to school as a straight A student, highest SAT scores my school had ever seen, valedictorian, but I couldn't get to class. And I got denied credit, and I got told you can go back next year, you need 2 classes to graduate, but you have to do one the first part of the year, one the second part of the year, and do a full year. Which is ridiculous. And also, I couldn't do it first period and leave. It was like third period or something. We had block schedules, we had 4 periods. It was just, I tried, but it didn't work. And I didn't have any other out. I was working at the 7-Eleven full-time while doing this. So I had met somebody online, and then I had a bunch of online friends. Most of my friends were online. I was not a popular person. I had gone to meet up with a bunch of my online friends, and through that I had met a person who I'd been talking to, and they lived in Wisconsin, so I moved to Wisconsin. And instantly found out that they were not the nice guy they portrayed themselves as. They drank a lot, and they did coke, and they were mean, and I spent a year with them literally doing things like raping me and playing Russian roulette and looking at Delia's. I don't know if you know what Delia's is. It was some child, clothing line. They had a lot of Delia's. Oh, sorry, I have somebody else's mail here. I don't know, I think I have to walk it over there, but it's shoved in the back of, I don't know. It's just that, I think I should walk it over, but it was shoved in the back of my mailbox and it got all broken, which is really annoying. I don't want to be blamed for it. It's all ripped up. I don't want to show the front, but do you see that? I don't know how that happened. I got nail polish though because I'm going back to work, so I need to do some human things. Anyway, I lived there for about a year and I came home. And when I came home, I started smoking pot. I had never done drugs in my life, but I started smoking pot. Started doing ecstasy. Met my kid's dad. We were best friends for more than a year. He smoked a lot of pot. He did other drugs which I didn't even know about. Somewhere along the line with my best friend and him, and he was one of my best friends, my best friend from high school, my other best friend. I did dope, which is heroin. I didn't know it was heroin. They called it dope. I don't think this is what I bought. I got 3 nail polishes, which I didn't think I bought 3. I thought I only bought 2. Anyway, I can't wait to show these off, but this is not what this video is about. And then this is a tool that's supposed to make it super easy to clean up the edges and stuff. I thought that I had bought another tool, but apparently not. The box is really nice. The packaging is obviously I'm not doing this right now, but it's not unboxing video. The packaging is really nice. Okay, so I think by now I've qualified that I've had some abuse in my life, right? But at the time, I was best friends with my now ex, and we were good together. We spent a lot of time. Our relationship, when we did finally get together, more than a year later, was good. We did not fight a lot. And matter of fact, the only time we fought was when I decided to get clean. After our child was born, I didn't want to get high anymore. I wanted to be a mom. So I decided to get clean. And I thought I only threw one thing away, but I threw 2 things away. It's okay. And he came to the rehab when I was leaving, drunk, and then, took me home. So, tried to buy drugs on the way home because the rehab was next to Philly. Registration renewal is coming up in how many months? It used to be a lot easier when it was when they sent it to you, because now I get this renewal card, and by the time I remember to do it, I got pulled over last year on the way to a doctor, needing to go to the bathroom so bad. Yeah, it doesn't expire till the end of April. This is middle of February. Anyway, but I'll probably do it before then because I'm not dumb. Anyway, didn't do it last year. I got pulled over running late for a doctor's appointment because my doctor for my brain is more than an hour away. Having to pee, having been on the highway drinking coffee. And she was like, your registration expired. I was like, but the date on the card was like, the date that I had got it registered before was the date that I had bought it. But that's not the same as the date that it expired because my tags haven't turned out. So anyway, whatever. She let me go in the morning. It was very cool. When I was on my way to my brain surgery, which was years ago, got pulled over because the cop cars read your license plates around here. My ex was actually driving without a license at the time to take me to my brain surgery, and I did get a ticket. He got a ticket for that one, actually, not me. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So we broke up when I decided to be clean, and he didn't want to. And that was really the only time we'd ever fought. I would not in any way, shape, or form have called him abusive back then. He was very open-minded, very loving, very hippie type person. Wore a lot of Grateful Dead shirts, smoked a lot of pot. He did drugs that I had not previously been exposed to. He smoked a lot of crack. He did meth because he comes from Oklahoma. That's actually how he ended up here, is because he did meth. And then he did dope with me, and that was kind of our problem. But we were never abusive. So after I left him, I moved to Allentown to get clean, and I didn't really do any drugs for years. And I also was single for most of it. Got together with my middle child's dad. He was clean. He was great. He relapsed. He sucked. He became abusive. He became, like, verbally, physically, everything. And also, like, he would break into my apartment and steal from me because I did not put up with him for long. I got rid of him as soon as I could. I had an infant. It was hard, but I got rid of him. Are you starting to notice a pattern, though, right? So I got rid of him. I got a PFA, and then I put him in jail for breaking into my apartment. And I went on with life. I was mostly single after that. I dated a couple people who, like, one of them, we didn't really have anything going on, but we had, every other week we got together at his place and, whatever. And then I dated one who I think we would have been really, really good together, but he didn't want to be a grown-up. He literally told me in the beginning that he was a depressed alcoholic, and I just didn't want to hear it. I still think he probably could have been the most compatible as far as, like, interest and thoughts and brains and all this other stuff that I've ever met my whole life. All right, I have to do a psych exam this weekend. I'm just checking my school real quick. But he didn't want that, and I would not listen. And he was right in the end. Like, he told me at one point that my problem was that I didn't understand boundaries. His problem is he didn't know how to set them. Anyway, so after him, then only my oldest child's dad, now both my oldest and my youngest child's dad, found me somehow. And I was just getting out of that relationship, so I was just single, and he actually, like, I don't know, we were just going to be friends and just hang out and just talk, and everything was good like it used to be. We talked so much. He was in a recovery halfway house type situation, and he had graduated and was sort of like unpaid staff to be allowed to keep living there. He had supposedly been clean and all this other stuff, and then he asked if he could move in, and he did, and we got back together eventually and whatever, and it was horrible. From the day I let him move in, it was horrible. He laid on the couch. He didn't work. He was using behind my back. He was stealing from me. He would scream and curse and yell and pick fights, and everything was about him, and he was narcissistic and self-centered and awful. And it just kept spiraling, and the problem with the downward spiral of abuse, mental health, and addiction is that the spiral gets tighter every time. I truly believe that one of the biggest problems was that he never wanted to be with me. He liked me as a friend. He does not personally didn't want to be with me. He is not a person who cares much to have a relationship at all. He doesn't want to be alone. He wants to be loved, but he does not want the part of a relationship where you have to give love. Giving love is not a skill that he is capable of. Hold on, I gotta put you in a weird angle for a second. And God forbid if she ever sees this, you are not the sum of your mistakes, and you're amazing, and I don't mean this to sound in a bad way. His mom left. He went through a lot of shit when he was a kid too. His mom left eventually, and he was with his grandparents, and he was abused by her brother, and then he was with his dad, and then his dad became a trucker and was abused by his stepmom, and I don't know, he just has a lot of issues, and I think that I filled that hole that he had never had. I loved him, and when I love someone, I give to them, I take care of them, I'll buy you gifts, and I'll take you to concerts, and I'll make you smile, and I'll always be there, and if you need help, you always know where to turn, and like, we would fight because he didn't want to do anything, and God forbid, I caught him on the fact I'd been laying on the couch all day. I hadn't looked for a job for 5 months. I was running out of money. I couldn't afford all these bills. I had been a state employee, and we were doing pretty well when he moved in, but it was not take care of another person well. And also, he was just miserable laying on the couch. And all of a sudden, he wasn't calling, and talking to me every day at lunch and all this other stuff. So, I have karate tonight. I gotta get ready. It just got worse, and there's so much I need to unpack. There's so much I need to unpack there, but I'm not going to do it today because I'm going to get to the point that I wanted to make from the beginning. I watched the Pam Bondi hearing yesterday, part of it, and I normally will not call her by her actual name. I call her Spam Blondie. I think it's appropriate. I call all of them by ridiculous names because sometimes the best way to protest is to point out how ridiculous the situation is. These people are running all over our democracy and shitting all over it and getting paid by us, and it's humiliating, and it's just it's unbelievable to me that they're getting away with it. Did you just hit my nose? I'm sorry. And so I make fun of it because it's the only way to even accept that it's real sometimes. Oh, I have coffee creamer. I can make coffee instead of chicken salad. That's great. Yes, you heard that, but coffee is a food for me. I put protein powder in it. I have no stomach, so there's only so much I can do in life. And I'm going to make chicken salad, but I put coffee with protein first, because I can do that. And then I'll get in the shower, and then I'll have chicken salad as my next meal, because coffee only lasts for 2 hours anyway. It's supposed to be every 2 to 3 hours, so when it's a liquid meal, it's definitely only 2. And before you question this, I went back to my bariatric surgeon because I was having pain in my gallbladder, and he said, if eating's causing you pain, go back to a liquid diet. So I don't want to hear it. It's what I was told to do. Anyway, all of that aside, my brother left food here and he's gone for 10 days. I'd probably ask if the kids can have that or something. I watched the hearings yesterday, and I watched the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein sit behind Blondie McBlondie's head while she systemically is the other word. That's the one I use when I'm talking about my work. My brain ever since the surgery seems to go cuckoo, but she systematically just demeaned everything about being a survivor. Call 1-800-FBI. Every time I'm not going to answer your question. I'm not going to answer that question. Well, what really matters, no, I'm not going to answer your question. If these people would stop being dramatic, I'm not going to get in the gutter with you. I'm not answerable to you. Well, yes, you are. Because you're paid by the taxpayers of the United States of America. And do you know who the House of Representatives is? Those are our representatives. They speak with our voice. I think it's disgusting how many Republican House of Representative members got up there and sucked her cunt. I really do. I use that in the English British way, so it's okay with you, because I hate that word. It's my least favorite word on the planet. I like to curse, and I don't like that word. I think it's inelegant, but it's the only one that's appropriate for the situation. It was disgusting, that display they put on yesterday. Oh, we love that you're doing this. We love that you're doing that. Let's be clear. Homicide rates have been dropping in the United States since the 1990s. Every actual expert has said there is no proof that anything Donald Trump has done has had any actual impact, and definitely no improvement. As a matter of fact, the areas where he's focused his Gestapo have had increased crime, whereas all the other areas have decreased. At the same time, my electric bill has gone up 400%. That's how percents work, by the way, Donald. They can't go down 400%. You can get a 400% discount, but it can go up 400%. That means 4 times. That means when it was $300 last year, it's $1,200 right now. I said 300%, right? It's 300 or 400? It was $300 last year. It's $1,200 now. That's 400%. Okay. Yeah, because it's times 4. I'm not sure I said the right numbers. I can math, but I can't always remember what I said because I'm talking. It was from a person who's making their life out of trauma-informed care, out of telling people in all areas. I'm not going to be a therapist. I'm not going to be sitting there telling people to deal with their traumas. I'm going to be the person who teaches the cops how to respond, and the person who teaches the nurses and doctors what to look for. I am a criminology, sociology, victimology, psychology, political justice, communication science with a little bit of anthropology major. Okay? You learn all that shit in 4 years. I wanted to get into it for 3 reasons. One is that we need more advocacy than therapy. Someone goes and turns in somebody for a sexual assault or domestic violence or some other traumatic crime, and they maybe get 24 hours of attention from the police report. Maybe. Sometimes if you call like a shelter or something, you get 30 days. Maybe sometimes you can even get up to 6 months, I've heard. Did you know that if you're a victim of a violent crime, there are funds that will pay you for like missing work and stuff like that? Well, neither do most victims. So we need someone who does that, someone who follows along and makes sure that they're getting justice, that they're getting their rights, that they're getting their doctor's appointments and their therapy and their medication and keeping their job and keeping their house and keeping their families and keeping their lives. And that they're not 18 and dropping out of school because one traumatic event halfway across the country triggered something in them. That CYS isn't coming out and seeing a cleaned up kitchen real quick and going, oh, everything's good. Not that I'm saying that CYS should be taking children. I personally am a big believer that CYS is the best allies, okay? They will come and they will help you. They will buy you a new stove. They'll pay your electric bill. They'll give you rent money. They'll put you through school. They'll buy you a car. They will do so much if you work with them. This vilified idea that they're just coming and snatching children is not, it's not real, okay? Secondly, I think that we need to train our first responders, our doctors, our teachers, our lawyers, etc. far better. I literally had a policeman say to me after I called because my husband was being so horrible. He said to me, first of all, he said he's allowed to do that when I said he tried to yank my then 2-year-old son on my arms. He's allowed to do that. I said, he's allowed to violently yank a child? He said, well, you didn't say violently. What does yank convey? Does it convey that he went, can I please have the baby? He left bruises on my kid. The second you saw the bruises, by the way, you were supposed to arrest him whether I wanted him arrested or not. That is actually the law in PA. Any bruises, 24-hour arrest. But you didn't. You then said, do you really want a PFA? And then tried to tell me I had to wait till Monday. Said, well, he seems calm. You're the one who's upset. Why don't you just stay out of his way until you pull yourself together? Do you know how it started? It started because I was making coffee for him. And he, at 3 in the afternoon, by the way, because he didn't want to get out of bed. Because his theory on weekends was, why get out of bed for something? There's nothing important going on. Like, while we would stand there and beg him to come, like, go to the park with us. Or, like, because family wasn't important, only work. Work's the only reason to get out of bed. And even work wasn't really that important most of the time. The animals are not going to start doing things like actively trying to climb my leg because I am shredding chicken. I do buy pre-made chicken. We talked about this before. I used to make my own grilled chicken. I don't like buying the breaded chicken. It's a waste of calories, especially because for some reason they make the least tasteful breaded chicken I ever met. Oh, the waste is not as bad as Giant. Giant, literally, the breading has no flavor. There's a cat coming up my leg because it wants my chicken. And the dog is sitting there whining because it also wants my chicken. No flavor. But to buy a chicken these days is actually more expensive than to buy the pre-made chicken when it's half off. Especially because I got this pack the day after the Super Bowl and it's big and half off. Anyway, so we need to train our first responders, our doctors, our teachers, our lawyers, etc. better. So that they don't ever come out and say, you don't really want a PFA. Why don't you just stay out of his way? Or even the most recent one. The most recent one wasn't horrible. He just didn't know what to do. He was like, well, but how did... Because it was at night. And he was like... After my grown-ass husband had decided to start terrorizing us and refused to leave, and my 23-year-old had to physically restrain him because of the fight that they were having. It wasn't really me. I was just protecting me and my 5-year-old. My 23-year-old physically restrained him and called the cops because of how violent he was being. And the policeman said to me, like, because by then, you know, even my husband wasn't going to, like, tell them the truth about what happened, because then my 23-year-old could have also maybe been in trouble. But, basically said that my husband had been out of control and he needed to leave and he was off his medication, and he, you know, the cop was like, well, how'd he get there? And I'm like, I don't know. He showed up here. He was not invited, and he was not invited, by the way. I had at one point said that it was right around Thanksgiving, and I had said if he wanted to come for Thanksgiving weekend, this was before things were really, really bad, by the way, that maybe he could, like, stay in my basement. Like, we were already separated and stuff, but he'd been gone and I didn't really know what was going on. This was the first time I saw him after that. And I was like, I don't know. He just showed up. He got a ride or whatever. And he was like, well, can you drive him to where his family lives, which is a town 35 minutes away? In the dark, the person I just told you has been violently assaulting me in my home where he does not live. A grown-ass man. You want me, like, to take me, like, he has a cell phone, he has money, why aren't you asking him to Uber himself away? All I'm asking you to do is remove somebody who does not belong on my property, who is not on the lease, who has no legal right to be here, who has been gone for more than 6 months legally. You have paperwork. There's paperwork with the county saying he moved out. There's paperwork with the PFA people. There's paperwork with domestics. There's paperwork with children, youth, or not children, sorry, they're not involved anymore. They haven't been involved since the very first time I got, like, went to rehab. I did involve them back then, but that was a long, like, 20 years ago. I've had a couple people try to, like, weaponize them against me, which is funny, but with custody is what I was trying to say. I was like, there's all this paperwork proving that he has no legal right to be here, and I'm telling you he's being violent towards people who do have a legal right to be here, and you're asking me to put him in a car with me in the dark and go drive him somewhere. Do you understand how dangerous of a situation that is? And on top of that, how damaging it is when you tell a woman who has finally asked for a woman, a child, it is almost always statistically a man on a woman when it's abuse. Almost always. That does not mean it can't happen the other way. Statistically speaking, it's almost always the male who's doing the abusing. On top of that, there is no such thing as mutual abuse. There can be mutually abusive behaviors. But if a person is defending themselves, they are not committing mutual abuse. They are protecting themselves. If a person has been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed through coercive control and, you know, mental assault and neglect and intimidation and insults and actual or implied violence, and they say something snappy, or they throw some cold coffee at the person, which, yes, I did do once. I had a cup of cold coffee I had been trying to make, the same story, as a matter of fact, and he was flipping out in my face, screaming and spitting and jabbing his hand. Do you mind? He's a construction worker. He is strong. When he punched my glass stove, it broke. When he tried to punch my head and I moved, he not only broke the wall, he also broke his hand. He's strong, okay? Anyway, it's not mutual assault. It's protecting yourself, honestly. That's one of the things. Anyway, so to sit there in court, these brave ass women, and have someone who literally you're paying her bills, and her job is to get you justice. You finally have reached out. You've grown enough self-care through the hardest. Like, wasn't that story I just told you? It was 40 minutes of hell, but it was actually 44 years of hell, okay? You still have the strength to get up every day and say, no, I am a whole person. I'm entitled to all the good in the world. I am entitled to love and happiness. And I did that every day of my life, despite how much I was beaten down. But it was hard. When that cop came out and said, you don't really want a PFA, and tried to deny me the on-call judge's number, there was a better chance that I would go, okay, I never ask for help again and die, than that I would actually do what I did, which is survive. People die, literally die. So these women went to the highest court in the United States. And I want to be clear, like, the leaked information that was supposed to be redacted on them. Not the over-redacted information where 965,000 times they redacted Trump's name when they weren't supposed to. But the stuff that wasn't redacted on them wasn't names. It was literal pictures of naked girls. It was identifying information like their addresses and phone numbers. These women are being tortured. Like, imagine, not only when you were little, somebody took pictures of your abuse, took pictures of themselves molesting you, assaulting you, doing the worst things, like the most base, degraded things that you can think of. And the thing about it is, I think sex is beautiful, even if you're into, like, kink, any kink. Sex is still a beautiful thing, no matter how dirty and down it is, as long as it's voluntary. But the whole point of debasing little girls is that these men have this high that they get from doing something they consider dirty and debasing to a little girl. And now, not only are you an adult who has tried to fight for yourself, and the government has basically been like, fuck you. Turns out they really can do whatever they want, and we really don't care about you, and you're really not the same little human as those humans, and all this other stuff. But the pictures of it, the visible, emotionally tied representations of your trauma are now out there for every single person on the planet. And Blondie has the nerve to be like, well, it was only up there for 44 minutes. Like, I would like a picture of her. No, I would not, obviously. I'm not actually, like, I don't want to finish that thought. I would like to see how she would feel if a picture of her or someone she was personally concerned with was exposed for 44 minutes to the entire world. To disgusting ass perverts all over. What she did yesterday was not just a little not okay. It wasn't just her throwing histrionics. It's so funny because every time we hear Trump derangement syndrome, I think of how deranged the people who actually believe him are at this point. Like, he keeps doing these things. He wrote a tweet yesterday and was like, and Macy, the failed blah blah blah, with his aimless fight against corrupt, pathetic, sad old government. Like, he literally doesn't realize that he called himself all the insults. He thought he was insulting Macy, but the way he worded it, he was actually just insulting himself. It's almost an hour, so you're going to have to go look it up yourself. It's going to take me forever to upload this already. But, not only did we tell all those survivors that have done all of this already that it's okay, I mean, y'all elected a known convicted rapist as the, like, I don't care if anybody else, like, wouldn't, like, if you don't like Hillary, or, you know, you didn't think Pamela, or you didn't think Harris would be better, like, how did you, first of all, not think that Harris would be better than him? I've seen some speeches he gave in the past, and I'll be fair, if it was that Donald Trump, I could almost see it, but it hasn't been him in a long, he definitely has some dementia going on, okay? I know, I'm still making the chicken salad, because I want it done for after I take the shower. I don't want to have to, like, make it. But, you have millions and millions and millions of people to choose from, and that's what, like, you couldn't go, I think convicted rapist is the breaking point. So you put him on there, and now you know for a fact that not only is a convicted rapist, I put sugar-free craisins in my chicken salad, but I think I'm going to cut up some pickles, too. All of a sudden, that sounds like a really good idea. But I think I'm going to use the bread and butter ones, because they never taste the way I think. I think that they taste like sweet gills or sweet gherkins or something, and they don't, but I always want them to, so I'm going to do it again, and then I'm going to say, that's not the pickles I thought they were. But they're almost empty, so I don't care at this point. And dirty chopsticks. I'm going to put those in the jar. Ew. Usually I just stick my hand in, but I don't want to get cold right now. It's not like it's not a concern for like germs in my jar. I said ooh because I thought there was a cat hair in there, but I don't think that's what, I don't know. You would think I just used relish, but I don't have any right now. Because nobody in my family uses relish for anything. I just want to have some flavor and some crunch. I can't chew, so crunch is like a really limited thing in my life. But if I cut it up small enough, I might be okay. It just breaks my heart, and it makes me angry. It makes me angry because there are these things that I call ripples, right? So, like, school shooting takes place in Oklahoma, and kid in Pennsylvania fails high school. It's a ripple. It's a trauma ripple. And trauma affects your entire life. These kids in so many places, seeing families being ripped apart, even the ones whose families aren't being ripped apart, are getting this idea that they could go to school and come home and their parents could just not be there. Even citizens kids, and I'll say it, even white kids, because let's be fair, they don't care if they're citizens or not, they care if they're brown or not. But these children are literally being traumatized in a way that will affect them their entire lives. And so many people don't seem to care right now. Elected people, and I don't understand how y'all elected people who care so little about you. It's not to like, I don't get that you have different platforms or different priorities than me, but you elect these people who don't care about you to represent you and your money and your children and your whatever. And I hate the like, what if it was your daughter mentality. I don't think we should say that to people normally, but like, just to watch her sit there and like, she would just stare at the paper like, she's looking at her little burn book, but that she is not even legal, right? You're not allowed to spy on the Congress people who you were supposed to give these records to and you didn't, but now you have them coming in with 4 computers, and that's why they're keeping it so limited, by the way, so they can keep track of every single thing that people look at, so that they can try to, like, hurt them with it, or if they find something good, they can quickly go disappear it. But, and by good, I mean prosecutable. There's so much going on, right? There's so much going on right now, and there's so much that's hard to even keep up with it. You're like, I'm tired of it. I'm over it. I don't want to talk about politics anymore. Imagine being tired of being brown, or being tired of having been raped as a little girl, or being tired of any of it, really, because we all are, but that's just who you are. I think that people need to stop being so fucking selfish and entitled, quite honestly. I don't know how Pam Bondi sleeps at night. I really don't. I would not be surprised if she unalived herself one day. And I don't mean the whole Epstein unalived. I mean, like, somebody that she cares about someday goes through some actual something that isn't about her sucking Donald Trump's trunk, and she realizes what she did. And that's an awful thing to say. I don't wish for it by any means, but like, I just can't imagine being that awful. Especially, I'm going to say it, I hate it, but especially as a woman. Because like, I can understand that men don't, unless they've been through it, maybe grasp how bad of a thing all of this is. Maybe. I think a lot of men these days do. I don't believe that men are incapable of the same depth and like expression of feelings and stuff. I think that you absolutely are. I think that you're under... A lot of men are underestimated, and then they don't live up to it because they like being underestimated in that area. You don't have to be emotionally aware. You can just be a dick. But I prefer people who are emotionally aware, honestly. Anyway, I don't know. I'm wearing this sweatshirt, my I believe in human rights. I'm a big fan of human rights sweatshirt, and some lady at the gym walked up to me. She'd only seen the back, but she was like, I love your sweatshirt because there's all the causes on back. And I'm like, thanks. I was like, I wish they could have fit a couple more, but she's like, yeah, you know, the last one's the most important one, though. It's just like kindness is everything or whatever. And I always hashtag be kind on every video. To me, like, I gotta start hashtags on this thing too, because nobody is seeing most of my videos, but some of my shorts have got like hundreds of views. I'm not trying to be like run the world, but I am one of the few people talking from the perspective I talk from. So, you know, I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't see a lot of other people talking from the perspective of like a DV survivor / student. It's not going to go away, and it can't go away, and we can't let it just be quiet. Like, there have been ups and downs in the whole Epstein thing for all of history. You know, one administration cared more, one cared less. Then there was, you know, the trials, and yes, Biden let the ball drop, sort of, but also the Biden administration was in an active trial against Ghislaine Maxwell. Blondie would like to tell you that she has an active investigation going on right now. She doesn't, you know. I think the Clintons being willing to come talk in public on camera is the best thing they can do. Because I do think we deserve answers from Bill also. I don't think Hillary did shit. And I think that Hillary needs to do what she should have done a long time ago and unhitch her wagon from that sinking fucking star. But I don't understand that one. Like, I love my husband. My husband cheated, and I stayed with him. So I'm not judging that part. But, like, I don't know. Hillary is Hillary and Michelle, and they're both massively capable women. The difference is that Michelle is married to someone who's her equal. Or at least, I think so. I don't want to say equal, like we're judging the value of people, but like, he is accomplished, and he is honest, and he is, for the most part, he did what he said he was going to do. He did what he set out to do as much as he could. He just seems like like a decent person. And Michelle is a good person. I'm not trying to question the validity of Barack Obama here. And I don't hate all men. I do think there are good men out there, and I think Obama's one of them. I think that Bill Clinton is slimy. I think that he came from that era of politicians who were slimy. I don't think he's the worst person on the planet. I think that Donald Trump is the worst person on the planet. I think Pam Bondi is running. At first I thought she was just this blonde talk piece that they put out front, but now I believe she might actually be running in competition for worst person on the planet. I don't understand how she could do that, and I think that people need to stop and think of this as really... Look, they're now trying to disenfranchise women by this whole protect the United States law where we can't vote. And it's a real thing. It's a real, actual thing. It's not funny. It's not a question. You can't go change your last name on your birth certificate. And that's why they're doing it. Stop saying, well, that's dumb. Who would have done that? That's the point. Nobody. But, so there it is. My whole sad story to qualify myself so that I can talk about this stuff. And what I think about it, which is that it was the worst experience I've ever had. It re-traumatized me just watching it. It must have re-traumatized those women, which is what most of them have said today, too. And if you're lucky enough to have never had an experience like that, God love you, but 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have at least had a experience, if not lived with it. And these weren't women when it happened to them. They were children. It's got to be dealt with. We can't keep saying this garbage. Are we still talking about that garbage? We went to a hearing about Epstein and a bunch of times. I don't want to talk about that garbage. Let's talk about something important. The 3 criminals in the entire state of Texas I could pull up that were immigrants. And one of the senators said it, there's proof that most crimes are committed not by immigrants, but by United States citizens who were born here. So keep it, do we believe that we need to make the streets safer? Yes. But that's not the same thing as believing we need to track down immigrants instead of pedophiles. Guess what? Pedophiles are dangerous. All right. I gotta go. My kids get home from school anyway. I'll talk to you again, I hope. I hope if you listen this far that, I don't know, write a letter to a congressman. Next time you get a text message saying, hey, this is so-and-so, give me $3, text them your life story. I do. It's amazingly cathartic. But also, vote and use your voice and talk to your congressman and use your money and, boycott Bezos and all that stuff. That package was not from Amazon. Just saying. I do, I didn't boycott Disney, but I did threaten to. Disney is Bluey. I have a little kid who adores Bluey. I'm glad I didn't have to follow through with it because I think I would have. I definitely will if it comes down to Epstein. I will boycott anything I have to. Have a good day. I'm going to go eat or drink coffee and take a shower at least. Bye.